What should I be focusing on during Rosh Hashanah? There's an old expression from the Rabbeim and from Chassidus that says, "As jeder avoide darf man kennen tun seiner Zeit," which basically means a person must always be prepared to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. From that light, from that perspective, what's Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is making Hashem into a king. Making Hashem into a king, from a practical point of view, is making ourselves into his subjects. In other words, the fancy language of Chassidus about Rosh Hashanah would be Kabbalah's oil kloli. One of the key components of life, and certainly of Avodas Hashem, is Kabbalah's oil, accepting the yoke of heaven. In other words, being able to accept the mastery of Hashem, not for a reason and not for a reward, but simply because he's God, because he's the king. And in life, there is a need for Kabbalah sale. We all understand it. We serve Hashem not just because we want to, because it makes sense, but because he said. And Kabbalah sale is not only useful in serving him, it's useful in gaining control over self. I saw from the Rebbe where a person was complaining to the Rebbe about his weaknesses and his Yetzer Hara. And one of the things the Rebbe wrote was, you've tried so many different methods. Why not try what says in Tanya Perek Mem Aleph, the idea of simply disciplining yourself? Rosh Hashanah is Kabbalah sale. Rosh Hashanah is called Kabbalah sale. Rosh Hashanah, there's an idea of submitting to Hashem, basically. Technically, it means I say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're my king, I'm your subject, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. Now, I just said it, right? I can say it again. You're my king, I'm your subject, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. What's the problem? It's very easy to say. It's incredibly easy to say. It's incredibly difficult to mean. So that's the part of Rosh Hashanah which is difficult. Rosh Hashanah, we crown Hashem as a king. Rabbi Yossi Paltiel used to say that he had a Malamed in Chaslavich who taught them as children, an old Lubavitcher Chassid. Rosh Hashanah is the talk from Coronation. I think it's in the Sichos also. Coronation. It's brought in the Maimorim that the day that a king is crowned, businesses are closed, the government is closed. All there is Malchus, making Hashem a Melech. And like I said, making Hashem a Melech is not only about Hashem, where it's actually not so much about Hashem. It's about our submission. There's another side to the coin that's very, very important. And the other side of the coin is that it's critical to be honest about who we are. One of the things about life is we all wish we were big tzaddikim. We all wish we were independently wealthy. We all wish we were intelligent and sophisticated and socially savvy. But we're not. We have strengths and weaknesses. Some of us have bigger strengths, some of us have smaller strengths, some of us have bigger weaknesses, some of us have smaller weaknesses. And when it comes to life, when it comes to our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, the thing that matters above all else, that whatever we undertake do should be metanemes. It should be honest. It should be truthful. It should be real. It should be realistic. So Rosh Hashanah, we crown Hashem as a king, which means we submit ourselves to be his subjects on a very deep level. The tradition in Chabad, and I'm sure this is not exclusive to Chabad, is that the 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah we behave as though we're in the presence of the king. And the way it plays out practically is we talk as little as possible, we sleep as little as possible, we socialize as little as possible, and every free minute we use for davening and for saying Tillim. Because in the recitation of Tillim there is the presumption of acceptance, of submission. The Rebbe writes, the Frierdiker writes that people should say Tillim non-stop. They say Tillim many times. But I think the most important thing is that every one of us goes into Rosh Hashanah not with an attitude is, I'm not a good Jew, I can't have a good Rosh Hashanah. But rather, this is the Rosh Hashanah that I'm able to have. This is the submission. This is the Kabbalah Samalcha. This is the degree to which I can submit myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, become His subject, and that's what I'm going to undertake, and that's what I'm going to do. And the important thing is to have a successful Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, which is not only inspiring and uplifting and moving for the time, but that the resolutions that we make should carry over for the rest of our lives, rest of our year. And we should do it with Simcha v'Tuv Livov. And of course, in anticipation of Rosh Hashanah, I'm wishing all of us for ourselves and all that is near and dear to us.